Hi everyone and welcome to EDU70006 Arts and Design Technology in Primary School, our flipped collaborate for assignment 1. This is due on Monday the 22nd of August. So assignment 1 will contribute 50% to your final mark for this subject, so half of your marks. There is a word limit of 2,000 words. This means that your essay should be no less than 1,800 words and no more than 2,200. So that's give or take 10% either side. It is broken up into two parts. So part A is 1,500 words, and this part of your assignment is made up of two lesson plans. So one of your lesson plans will be in the area of visual arts, where you will design lessons for one grade level between F and 2, so F1 or 2. And then another lesson plan where you will design a lesson for one of the grades, 3 to 6, so 3, 4, 5, or 6, in the area of design and technologies. So that will make up part A of your assignment. Part B is much smaller, so it is 500 words, and this is where you will critically analyse your pedagogical approaches in the teaching, learning and assessment of visual arts and design and technologies, including the use of ICT. So in part B, you will be critically analysing what you have done in part A. And for this part, it will be written in a more formal way, so with sentences and paragraphs. So let's look a little bit more closely at the assignment, starting with part A. So part A, as I've said, is 1,500 words. And for part A, you're going to want to choose a year level. So for visual arts, choose either Foundation 1 or 2, and then choose a year level 3, 4, 5 or 6 in the area of design and technologies. When you are designing your lesson plan, you will need to go to the curriculum, and we will have a look at that in a minute, and you will need to find the content descriptors. These tell you what you're setting out to teach so that you are able to design lessons. And there is a lesson plan that we're going to have a look at as well that you can use to plan and design these lessons. So the first place you're going to want to go is to the Australian curriculum. You are welcome to use your state's curriculum as well, but I will show you how to find the content descriptors on the Australian curriculum website. If you go to that website, the first thing you will find is a page that has these little blue dots that you can see here. So if you click into the learning areas, that will take you to a list like the one on the bottom of this slide on the left. And if you have a look at that one, you can see there's English, math, science, humanities and social sciences. And there you will see the arts. If you click on the arts, it will take you to those curriculum areas within the arts that you see on the right-hand side of the slides. So you can see dance, drama, media, music, and visual arts. If you click onto one of those, it will take you into the content descriptors. Once you get to the content descriptors, you will need to choose the year level. So for example, for the first lesson plan, you're going to want to click Foundation to Year 2. That will then take you to the content descriptors, which you can click the little plus on, and it will give you the elaborations. Then you can have a look at the different things that students at that particular year level are going to need to learn in order to meet the needs of the curriculum. So just as you have done with visual arts, you will need to go to the Australian curriculum and click on learning areas to find the content descriptors for design and technologies. So you'll click on learning areas, and then again you will come up with the same choices. So you'll have English, math, science, humanities and social sciences, the arts and technologies. This time you will need to click on technologies. Technologies is made up of two separate areas. So on the right, it's not a great slide, but you will see two parts. On the left-hand side, where you see the watering can, that is design and technologies. And then on the other side is digital technologies. You want to click on design and technologies. It is a very, very separate learning area to digital technologies that you will probably unpack in a whole unit by itself. So click onto design and technologies and you'll be taken to the same looking screen as you had for the arts. And there you will select your year levels and then you will be allowed to press the plus and get the elaborations for this learning area for different grade levels. Once you have found those content descriptors and decided which ones that you would like to use for your lesson plan, you can go onto the Swinburne Online lesson plan template that is in assignment details tab in Canva. This is what that one looks like. So it is a couple of pages and this is the first page. You can see up the top where it has lesson title, date, year level. The lesson title, you can put something in there. The date is not important. Make sure you put the year level that you are targeting. So you might put prep or 1 or 2, the topic, and then underneath where it says links to the Australian curriculum, that is where you're going to want to put the learning area. So for example, visual arts. Then you are going to want to list the content descriptors on the far side there as well. For your lesson rationale, that's an opportunity to share how you came up with your lesson choice. So how are you going to approach teaching those things to this particular year level? As you can see down the page, there are some other things there as well. What are the learning objectives? What do you want students to learn? How will you assess what they are learning? Then in the next part of the lesson plan that you see here, you can actually share your resources. So what sort of things are you going to use as part of your lesson? How are you going to introduce those ideas? What activities will students be doing? And then how will you tie it all together and finish off the lesson? This is what needs to go in this part of the lesson plan. Now, some of you will have used and seen lesson plans like this before. Others of you, this may be quite new. So follow the directions that you can see there that are in italics. They tell you what to put in sort of each of the boxes. And this is what you're going to use to design your lessons. So for part A, go to the Australian curriculum, have a look at the content descriptors in the area of the arts that you're focusing on for the particular year level. Think about some ways you might be able to teach these to that particular level of students. And then write those ideas, those lesson activities, those resources into the lesson plan that a template is there for you. It is worth noting as you are getting ready to design your lessons in visual arts and design and technology, it is worth thinking about what we mean by learning outcomes. So when you see learning outcomes in the rubric and also in the lesson plan template, these are clear and specific statements that articulate, so say what students should be able to do at the completion of the lessons. So you are designing lessons so that students are learning a new skill or new content that is directly from the Australian or your local state curriculum. Make sure when you are listing your content descriptors and the curriculum that you are referencing these accurately and you are using the APA 7 referencing for this assignment. In your lesson plans, it's a great opportunity to include resources, activities, and also to show where you are going to be linking these ideas or these lessons in visual arts and design and technology to other curriculum areas and how you are using ICT in these lessons. If you are wanting to achieve a higher mark for this assignment, so you're thinking you'd like a distinction or a high distinction, an area you can really show your knowledge and skill in designing lessons is in differentiation and inclusion. So this is in the rubric, in the distinction and high distinction aspects. So how do you do this? So when we're talking about differentiation, it's making sure that the lesson you are planning is allowing for access for all students. So in any classroom, there are going to be students with learning needs, with disabilities, and we need to make sure that you're designing lessons for everybody. There are some different ways, as you can see on the slide here, that you can differentiate your lessons. So you can differentiate by the content, so what students are learning. You can differentiate by the process, so how they are going about acquiring information. You can differentiate the product, so how they're going to show that they have or demonstrate their learning, and also the learning environment. So what are some things you could do in and around the classroom in order to make it easier for students who, for example, perhaps they are vision impaired? What can you do around the classroom to make sure that they are still engaged and taking part in the learning? How can you design the learning environment, the lesson, so that they are able to join in? Another consideration when you're designing your lessons is pedagogical approaches. So while these are a very practical thing that you are submitting, lessons, it's really important to be clear about how you are designing those. So when you are thinking about designing them, what is your approach? How are you delivering the content? Obviously, there are lots and lots of different pedagogical approaches you can take to teaching. For example, there's some on this slide here: explicit teaching, inquiry-based learning, collaborative learning. Whichever one you would like to use to deliver your lesson, it's important that this is quite clear, simply because that's what you're going to be analysing in Part B. If you have no pedagogical approach as part of your lesson plans, it's going to be very difficult for you to critically analyse what you have done. So this brings us to Part B. Part B is 500 words and it is to be written in more of an essay format. So Part A is obviously a lot more practical. It is actual physical lesson plans. Part B is a written part of the assignment. In this part, you are going to want to answer the questions that you can see that are in the assignment information and that are almost part of the rubric. So how do your lessons demonstrate a learning environment that is supportive of creativity? So for this, you're going to want to draw on the earlier modules and some of the ideas that are there, and also probably some of the work that's been done on the discussion boards and in your posts. Why are visual arts and design and technologies a powerful vehicle for cross-curricular teaching, including the importance of ICT? So this is talking about opportunities when teaching visual arts and design and technologies to also teach and draw upon other curriculum areas like English, maths, history, and things like that. And it would be really good here to make sure you've got examples of that within your own lesson plans so that you can be discussing those in Part B. How will you foster opportunities for reflection and feedback during the creative process, and why is this important? Please remember that when you're doing a critical analysis, this is a type of argument. So you will need to use evidence, and a lot of this evidence can be found in the modules and in the readings and in the e-text. So use this evidence linked to theory to support your claims and argue how and why you have demonstrated a supportive learning environment in your lesson plans and fostered these opportunities for reflection and feedback. So looking at Part B and the assessment rubric, which is where you're going to get your marks from, obviously, for this assignment. Part A address criteria 1 and 2, and Part B provides an opportunity to address criteria 3. Make sure in your Part B, your critical analysis, that you are using the essential unit readings, relevant curriculum, so the Australian curriculum or your state curriculum, course materials, and if you want to score more in the high distinction area, then make sure that you are researching on your own and using other literature to support your analysis. Your work needs to be referenced and cited all the way through using the APA 7th edition and also at the end of your assignment, and make sure that your reference list is on a separate page, and this obviously will not be included in the word count. So for Part B, it is, as I've said, an essay sort of format. So you will be using full sentences, which you will not be doing in your lesson plans. You need to use the third person, and you need to make sure that you're using Australian spelling. Again, make sure that you are using APA 7th edition for your referencing. And it's really important that you proofread your work before submitting. Academic conventions is actually worth 10% of your mark for this assignment. So simply by proofreading and doing really good referencing, there is an opportunity to gain some marks in this part of the assignment. For those of you who are a little unsure about academic writing style and referencing, there are some resources available within Canva that you can utilise, and also Swinburne Online. Just as a little sort of tip, in APA referencing, make sure you pay particular attention to alphabetical order, so putting your references in alphabetical order, making sure you're using that hanging indent, and using italics where required. So hopefully so far this has been useful in getting you ready to think about assignment 1. As you are preparing, make sure you read assignment 1 very carefully and underline any significant points. Make sure anything you are unsure about, you contact your ELA, because they are there and more than happy to answer any of your questions or queries. You can do that on the discussion board for assignment 1, or you can send them a message through Canva. Make sure you explore the concepts and readings for weeks 1 to 4. You will find all of the ideas and resources you need within those weeks. These have been specifically designed to give you the information you need in order to be able to complete this assignment. Make sure you're also really familiar with the marking rubric. We will go through this at our first Collaborate Select session, but it's really important because this is what ELAs will use to mark your assignment and to give you your grade. There are some resources that you can use in order to help you complete this assignment. As always, there are many things on Swinburne Online that you can use. And if you go to the PowerPoint slides for the first Collaborate session on the Padlet, which will be in Assignment 1 discussion board, you will find links there to these helpful resources that you will be able to use for your assignment. So good luck, everybody, in getting started. Hope to see you all at our first Collaborate session where we can go through a little bit of this in a bit more detail, and where you can ask some more questions as you get ready for the first assignment.